Thank you so much. Isn't this been such a great first day so far of the Go It Exchange? I'm so happy to see you all here. So today's session, this last one of day one, will be Understanding Consumers, where we will look at the consumer in two largest markets, two largest economies in the world, the US and China, as well as the rapidly growing market of India, with the latest data on consumer behaviors and trends in these important markets. Our first speaker today is coming to us straight from China, who'll be live streaming in. Zhao Jing is an e-commerce consultant and strategist at TMO Group. She's more than 10 years of expertise in the field of China marketing and e-commerce, including helping multiple international companies launching e-commerce and thriving in the China market. So with that, I am so pleased to welcome Jing to our stage, or to the screen.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Jing Zhou from TMO Group in China. Together with me is my colleague, Christina Gu, and she's our market intelligence executive. Yeah, please say hi to everybody.
Hi, guys.
Yeah, she contributed a lot to this presentation, and she's going to be with me for the Q&A session. Yeah, it's a pleasure to participate in such a great event, GOED. Although it's a pity that cannot join you guys personally, but I hope there's a chance in near future I can meet you all in person. Today, my topic is, let me to share my screen. Yeah, today my topic is Trend in China's Cross-Border E-Commerce for Health Supplement 2021. I'm going to walk you through for these topics today. First of all, please allow me to introduce TMO Group. We are a digital commerce agency providing e-commerce consultancy, design, develop, and manage service since 2011. We have a slogan of commerce, data, and AI. Through commerce to data and discover the true intelligence. TMO has a strong focus for health and beauty industries, either for B2B or D2C, direct to consumer, and industry worldwide focus on business to business. I'm the managing partner in charge of e-commerce consultancy and strategy. These are some of our clients. In 2015, we started our first cross-border e-commerce project in Hangzhou with bonded cross-border e-commerce model. Since then, we help our clients from Denmark, Holland, New Zealand, Australia, US, Spain, France, and Germany, who is mainly in food and health industry, to enter China market via e-commerce. You may notice some of brands already actively selling omega-3 products in their product offering. The entry strategy we took are from market to industry, then to brand, covering country-specific legal, logistic, payment, and social medias, to industry-specific, such as market potential, competitive environment, and demographics. And then to develop a brand-specific e-commerce strategy, choosing the right e-commerce channels, setting up the budget and market entry approach. For the last 3 years, our market intelligence team are working on country localization guide for China and Southeast Asia market, as well as industry report related to food and health. Okay, let's start from China health supplement market and landscape. I first would like to identify the term of health supplement. In China, there goes to two types of products. Health product, which is require blue hat registration from CFDA, and dietary supplement are generally considered as a food. Yes, China is a fast-growing health supplement market. According to iMedia research, in 2020, the market size has reached approximately 250 billion yuan, a year-on-year increase of 12.4%. It is expected to reach 270 billion yuan in 2021. But the interesting is, compared to those developed countries, the per capita consumption in China is still very low. It's only about 20%. And that shows great opportunities for future growth. So over the last 2 decades, China has increased health insurance coverage to over 95% of the population. As many other countries in the world, we are facing an aging demographic, along increased incidence of NCDs such as cancer and cardiovascular diseases. Is beginning to impact healthcare costs. The World Bank joint report with Chinese government found that healthcare spending will increase to 2.5 trillion USD in 2035, up from 500 billion USD in 2014, if without any reform. Additionally, the imbalance between rural and urban healthcare coverage also calls for government's action. So you may notice from 2016, government released multiple policies to support healthcare industry, from overall commitment to improve different level of medical and health services, introduce internet to the strategy, especially utilize the means of cross-border e-commerce. And the last, promoting the sports culture to enhance people's physical fitness and general health levels. You may notice that the current ongoing Winter Olympics in Beijing is sparking the mass fitness craze. These are the several factors drive the overall health supplement consumption. As a result of economic growth and the rising personal income, Chinese people are demanding better healthcare. In the past, health supplements are considered as a high-end product and gifts. But nowadays, people's perception and willingness to buy health supplement has slowly changed. Aging population. China has about 76 million people aged 65 and above at the end of 2019, which is counted for nearly 12.6% of total population. Among them, around 75% of Chinese elderly people suffered from chronic diseases. The pandemic has definitely cultivated the healthcare need. The products that enhance immunity are most interested. That leads to a 47% increase on total sales in 2020 compared to the year before in Tmall Global for health products. The last one, the rapid environmental changes accompanied with urbanization in China lead to an increased sub-health issue. That below chart shows 25 to 40-year-old group counted for around 60% of sub-health population. They are looking for health solution, and in general, these people have strong spending power. Consumption group. The elderly are the main force in the consumption of health supplement products. While China is gradually becoming an aging society, the size of pension industry keeps growing fast. Among that, health supplement market for elderly contribute for more than 50% of the total market share. The below chart shows nearly 90% of average monthly consumption from this group are below 500 RMB. When elderly purchase, they pay more attention to the efficacy. Besides, only 20% purchase are made by themselves. More than 50% are given by others. 30% are purchased by their children and spouse. Therefore, when you are promoting the products for elderly, it's necessary not only focusing on themselves, but also reaching to young consumers. The growing demand for young and middle-aged people for health supplement is continued to expand. Young and middle-aged working class often suffer from physical and psychological sub-health problems due to work stress, physical inactivity, unhealthy diet, and smoking, etc. They are aware of their problem, but Compare with regular diets, getting more sleep, and keeping exercising, it's more convenient and more feasible to take some health supplement. Therefore, health supplement become a rigid need for this group of people. Nowadays, China implement two-child policy or maybe multiple-child policy these days. The market size of health supplement for pregnant women has exceeded 65 billion yuan in 2020. The penetration of health supplement among pregnant ladies are very high. 90% of them will take a certain amount of supplement during pregnancy for body recuperation and nutritional supplementation. And the new generation moms have different buying behavior. They pay more attention to safety, taste, and convenience, accepting recommendation not only from doctors, but also influencers from social media. They pursue high-end and high quality and willing to pay more for that. The distribution channels for health supplement in China is relatively concentrated. We can see the trend of shifting channels from direct sales to e-commerce. In 2020, distribution for direct sales is counted for 25% from previously more than 50%. Pharmacy 23%, e-commerce marketplaces around 40%, and offline retail points 12%. We also observe that channels will be further diversified and integrated. Due to the time restraint, I'm not going to expand this topic furthermore. You may follow our industry report for more information. The overall market size for China online markets health supplement market is keep growing. These are the top 5 cross-border marketplaces: Tmall Global, Kaola, JD Worldwide, VIP International, and Little Red. So around 82.9% of shoppers are between the age of 19 to 40. In recent years, the live streaming also become important sales mechanisms, especially for new brand and products launch. Now, let's dive into cross-border e-commerce health supplement market in Alibaba family. From 2019 to 2021, overall market shows the trend of steady growth year by year. In particular, the Double 11 sales revenue increased each year and take more than 20% of annual market revenue. It reached around nearly 3.7 billion yuan in that day in 2021. Regarding brands, consumers are quite cautious when it comes to health supplements. Many of them will buy products from big brands with good reputation. Comparing the last 2 years Double 11 data, you may see that the top 5 best-selling brands are exactly the same. 2 from Australia, 2 from US, 1 from Japan. The sales revenue of each of these 5 brands increased, which is a very positive sign that shows overall market with a large potential, while other 5 brands are fluctuated. The product categorization methodology changed a lot from 2020 to 2021. It has shifted from nutrient-oriented to a more benefit-oriented, which is in line with consumer search behavior. That's why best-selling categories are quite different before and after. You can see that, for example, previously, coenzyme Q10 products are under subcategory of mushroom, which is pretty unintelligible, but now they belong to heart health supplement, which make more sense to the consumer. Now let's put a focus on the market of omega-3 products. Currently, they belong to the category of heart health supplement. There are 6 subcategories in total. Among them, Three are relevant to omega-3 fatty acids that contains mainly DHA and EPA. They are fish oil, deep sea fish oil, seal oil, and DHA, EPA, DPA. The fish oil generates most revenue in this category. When we dive into each subcategory, we found that krill oil products are also included in the fish oil subcategory, while algae oil products are also included in the DHA, EPA, DPA subcategory. Some special fish oil and deep sea fish oil products are specially offered for pregnant lady and the kids. From the brand's perspective, there's no surprise that the market leader Blackmore and Swiss sell the best. But meanwhile, we can also see that many consumers buy from niche brands such as WHC that has a reputation for omega-3 products of exclusive quality. We analyze the product SKU distribution, seeing that highlighted brands are more specialized in omega-3 category. In terms of sales channel, these niche brands are less diverged, and the consumer usually go to their flagship store to place an order compared to long-established brand as Swiss and Blackmore. The price of most of the omega-3 products are in the range of 100 to 400 yuan. Some niche brands are a bit more expensive. For example, Norwegian brand Noramatch. But apparently, bundle products are sold in the higher price, which is a quite common sales mechanism during Double 11 big promotions. The top 5 best-selling products of November 2021 are all fish oil products, which is acceptable since most of the consumers are more familiar with the fish oil compared to other omega-3 products. The best seller is from WHC, so we can tell that consumers are getting more and more sophisticated, and there's more of them willing to pay more for products with higher quality. The second products are bundled with 12 bottles, and you can also see the same products sold in different price and in different stores. Now, let's see how products are being marketed differently in China and in US. We took a popular product, fish oil, from the brand Swiss, for example. We browsed in the brand's official store on Tmall and Amazon US, found some noticeable differences. To target Chinese consumer on Tmall, a brand will include the main target customer group in the product name. In this case, is for middle-aged and elderly, and making the celebrity endorsement apparent on the product title and the detailed description. To target American consumer on Amazon, on the other hand, we saw mean nutrients and their amount in the product title, emphasize some technical information such as a diet type and allergen information on the product detail. We compared 5 Baidu search keywords related to omega-3 products in 2021, which is fish oil, deep sea fish oil, DHA, omega-3, and blood lipid lowering. The highest search keywords was DHA from the user of aged 20 to 39, female, and in Guangdong. 2 picks before Double 11 for DHA and blood lipid lowering. Proportion-wise, younger people search for fish oil and blood lipid lowering. Elderly people search for omega-3 and deep sea fish oil, although the overall search volume is lower. It's also in line with the customer group previously mentioned. Now, let's move to each subcategory. First, fish oil, deep sea fish oil. Since this category category contribute most of the total sales. So the price distributions, top brands, best-selling product are quite similar to the overall omega-3 as a whole. So therefore, we're not going to overly here. And same goes to top 5 selling products. But we analyze the product review from consumer who bought this product and see what consumer usually look for when they buy in fish oil products. Here are some reviews that we quoted from Tmall for top 3 best-selling products. We found that good brand reputation, proven product efficacy, and high price quality are most common motivators. And there are a lot of buyers place order for the parents. Regarding the search query for fish oil, we can see there are a lot of users try to understand what's the difference between fish oil and cod liver oil and krill oil. Wanted to know the benefits and taking fish oils and how to take the products correctly. From deep sea fish oil, situation is quite similar. But users seem more mature. They already have certain knowledge about fish oil and try to search for some brand recommendations. The scenario of seal oil products are very different from fish oil. We notice that the price is higher, mostly are from 300 to 500 yuan, and Norwegian brands take 5 places among the top 10 brands. Again, the price group over 1,000 are bundled products. You may also find bundled products here for the third one and for the third, fourth, and the fifth one. Going through the consumer reviews, we found that trigger of seal oil purchase is mostly from recommendation by the media or friends. Consumers believe that seal oil functions are even better than fish oil. A lot of them left a positive feedback about the purity, no fish taste, and efficacy for cardiovascular health. As we mentioned before, the DHA DPA subcategory includes algae oils and fish oils are suitable for pregnant women and kids. From the price distributions that we can see, price for algae oil products are relatively lower than the fish oil products. WHC fish oil for kids are sold as good as many of their other products. Means this brand has already established the brand awareness and the influence in the market. BioIsland for pregnancy is recommended by a lot of pharmacists. Consumers are more cautious when they buy these products. We found that usually they will consult doctors, doing online research, viewing consumer feedbacks before they making a purchase. Most likely, they will choose products from notable and reliable brands, so the quality and safety can be guaranteed. And the size and taste of soft gel and capsule are most preferred. People also search for DHA seems to know that that is good for pregnant women and babies. They wanted to know the benefit of DHA and the usage instruction and the brand recommendations as well. So these are the summary of consumers' perception and purchase purpose for these 3 types of omega-3 products. In the last session, we are going to dive into Chinese consumer, especially young generations. We've concluded 6 consumer insights and trends for you. Younger consumers are starting buying more than 4 types of health supplement with their target functions instead of single product with generic function. The consumption of a health supplement has gradually between shifting from only buying product during big promotion periods to a more of a routine pattern. And sport nutrition has increased a lot since more people start to work out actively. Due to unhealthy lifestyle, Chinese young people intend to take health supplement as a lifesaver. And the product like Swiss liver detox sell very well. The snack form supplements with a good taste are getting more and more popular, such as gummy and jelly. Lastly, the Z generation taking beauty supplement are getting even younger. You may find many 20-ish young girls sharing and posting the beauty supplement they consume, they take on the Little Red Book. We worked out 5 typical user personas: young families, middle aged and elderly, beauty and health enthusiasts, fitness fanatics, and office worker about their trade, need, product choices, and purchase channel. Due to the time restraint, I'm not going to go to detail. If you are interested, if you are like this presentation, you are interested in getting this detailed presentation slides or getting more update from China market, you can scan this QR code to register, and also for our data pack and health industry report. So thank you very much and stay tuned.
Thank you so much, Jing. That was excellent. All right. Now, crossing over the border, we next go to India, where Sandeep Gupta from NutriWorks will be live streaming for us. Sandeep has over 25 years of industry experience, which includes launching more than 400 nutraceutical products and evaluating more than 1,000 ingredients. He's worked extensively on India's food safety and standards regulation and is the founder of the Expert Nutraceutical Advisory Council, which serves to create harmony through education, awareness, and networking for the growth and development of the nutraceutical sector. Sandeep, the floor is yours.
Yeah. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon to everyone. I'm truly missing being personally there in Florida. I'm extremely sorry for an unforeseen reason, and I couldn't make it, but I'm very glad. I'm still the same active, passionately, purposefully will presenting the presentation and giving insights about the omega-3 market, how India is behaving, and especially a more deeper insights that strategically how we should look at this market and tap the most rapidly, I would say, growing market. And as I've been introduced, that being there in this market for about 26 years, and starting off launching and first time Omega in India, there back in mid-90s, and bringing the latest one in India, having an experiential journey by launching an omega-3 in the form of fish oil to the krill oil, the green linseed oil, and the flaxseed oils in the market of India. Just before entering into a deeper insights, just to give you a little glimpse about an APEC market, which is one of the fastest growing market when it comes to omega-3, and is expected to be growing rapidly by 2020, in between 2020 and 2030. And we are already in the midst, in the beginning of a 2020 era, wherein we have seen the onset of pandemic has actually completely shifted the market focus and brought a spotlight on omega-3, especially in the country like India, where people have become absolutely aware of it. And it's a growing awareness in the consumer minds. And if you see the same shift, you will be observing in the market growth, which happens to be growing by about an 8.8% over next 6 to 7 years for special. A little not being biased about the vegetarian, non-vegetarian source, just to give you a little insights about what's happening in the market. It's what's happening in the globally. It's actually reflecting in APAC and thereby reflecting in India. As I mentioned that the omega-3 was way back launched in mid-90s. However, the growth was limited due to an awareness, due to an engagement of a consumer. There was a less of education, less of awareness, there was less of engagement and networking amongst the consumer group, which has now evolved in the digital era. That's something which I would like to know or tell you about. It is currently the market is behaving that less than 20% of like a global population is no more different for India. It's also the similar situation in India is less aware and it's not known and as much as about the omega-3 for the health benefits. When it comes to about in amongst these consumers, that 71% of the consumers who are familiar with omega-3, but they are struggling to make a right choice or to make a choice purely based on quality, purity, or the price parity is something which is making a market a little complex in India. However, I would just emphasize to say that market is showing a dramatic change, a switch over plant-based omega or a vegan or a vegetarian source of omega, which is a very enlightening in the current scenario. Because as you see, the market during the pandemic has exploded, has rapidly grown. The usage of health supplementation, dietary supplementation in every household has almost gone quadruple times. When I say quadruple times, India supposed to be was one of the market which was 1/10 of the Thailand market, but today in the scenario, the consumption of a supplement is in every home of India by it means of a natural supplements or by its being a food, a dietary intake through their food or through in supplementation in lieu of protections against the epidemic, which we are all are grossly facing a problem. So if we see the trend, which is actually very important to observe in India, the awareness of consuming supplement is almost gone 10x to 20x because this is something which is brought in light during these 2 years of the pandemic, that health has become the culture of the world. So it's India taken a charge of its health. Not a little going towards like what was an omega-3 market is looking like in India, where people perceive it as more to be used as a benefit for the health, is more towards and primarily towards an cardiovascular. When it comes to a heart health, omega for cholesterol management is primarily the most recognized, I would say, category for omega-3 in India, followed by an cognition, which is more dominated by a DHA in omega-3 is for the cognition. However, this aspect of omega-3 in India is more related towards a fish oil, as traditionally the market started, the initiative of omega-3 consumption in India started with the fish oil in mid-90s, which is still strong, which is having a stronger presence, a stronger, I would say, conviction and a presence in the market. Though the evolving concepts of plant-based, vegan, vegetarian has just evolved, it's evolving. However, the dominance is still relevance to an fish oil, and that is one of the aspects as an advantage to marketers of an omega-3 in the recent past, but it also a disadvantage because omega-3 is more related to a fish oil in India per se, as it's a mixed population where both the vegetarian and the non-vegetarian acceptability is very high. I would say, looking at the current awareness of the market, the health benefit is known. The choice is little complex. However, when the people are convinced through an education, awareness, and engagement, the rising awareness of omega-3 is shifting the consumer thoughts over choosing first as a plant-based in India. However, fish oil, omega-3 to fish oil still dominates the market, still leads the market. It's one of the rapidly growing market and still holds the largest share in Indian market about it. The challenge which Indian market, which is actually forcing in the recent past, the consumer choices are more dependent upon the convenience, the solubility, the purity, and importantly, the fragrance, taste, and the smell, what we talk about. The after effect, the aftertaste is something which is an addressable aspects of the fish oil, which is a lot of companies have worked out over the flavored omegas and they have masked it very well and they're able to manage its share in the market. However, I'm just trying to emphasize this could be one of the limitations which can pose a marketer a little issue when it comes to an awareness amongst the consumer. This is something which is as a challenge which we have observed in India, that choice when it comes to between and vegetarian and non-vegetarian is basically because of its the taste, the smell. That is something which we know, and a marketer, the manufacturers, the suppliers, the ingredient the originators will have to focus more towards an Indian market. If you see a new age consumer appeal in omega market, and where they perceive it very strong, and especially in the ongoing situation of a pandemic, we have specifically a very predominant behavior, a very rise in the usage of omega-3 is basically it's been used for an, I would say, as a more of an because of its anti-inflammatory properties, and it's playing a greater role in normalizing the immune function. That is something very important, very unrecorded, but the behavior what we have seen amongst the physicians, which is one of the dominated influencers and the prescribers of the omega-3 as in supplement in the Indian population right from mid-90s, has reflected that the post-COVID recovery, okay, the results of omega-3 is becoming a more prominent, has shown a more prominent role. They are seeing a more improvement in the post-recovery of the people who have gone through and the COVID infections. It's behaving nice. Overall, the anti-inflammatory marker properties of omega-3 is the predominant, I would say, a role which is established in the physician's mind to make a choice to prescribe an omega-3 to our patients, or in consumers when it comes to, it is more perceived towards fitness and recovery amongst the athletes for cardiorespiratory fitness and muscle recovery. So I would say predominantly an anti-inflammatory markers is the most important factor which is playing, where researchers, these studies should focus on it, because that is something which is coming at very strong perception amongst the physicians-driven market, which is one of the very dominating market in India and can drive the multiple growths of the omega-3 market. Besides the immunity, fitness, and recovery, yes, definitely the balancing of the mood, which is, I would say, the relieving from stress, is more dominated by DHA influence, the omega-3 as a product. And that is something which is a very important. So I would say in all, the immunity, fitness, and recovery in sports nutrition, balancing mood is something which is a predominant user group in India when it comes to as an appeal to a consumer, as well as physician-driven market. Now, this is something very interesting. I would like to spend a little time on this slide, talking about the strength, weakness, opportunities, and threats in this market about it. Coming to first the strength, if you see, it's a highly important ingredient. It is considered to be a very important ingredient in all stages of life. When we do a consumer mapping in India, or we do an innovation mapping in India to target a health marker, we see that omega-3 in India fits at all stages of life, from pediatric to geriatric, from children to senior citizen, is something which is well used ingredients. It is fragmented, but still very promising at all stages of life. Needs to be externally consumed. India has now been creating, the companies, the organizations, the marketeers are creating a very strong awareness through an TV channels, through an public media, or in digital, I would say a social media, the awareness about that omega-3 cannot be produced naturally in the body. This is what is happening in last 2 years. The awareness of not being produced naturally in our human system is something which is actually creating an importance for omega-3 for the choice to choose and to consume in Indian market about it. Scientific evidence is something which is working very strong. The more and more scientific evidence is brought to the light by claiming about its safety, efficacy, the kind of studies in human which we are talking about it, is influencing consumer to make a choice. Acceptability and user experience advantage, which means if it's something which is like is felt benefit. One is the perceived benefit that omega-3 is useful for the health. However, the actually experience which is working for the reusage or the repeat purchase of omega-3 in consumer market. India being a leading hub of manufacturing with wider capabilities is something a greater advantage, considering that the innovative technologies which is adopted by an Indian players and the delivery formats which has been brought in various forms is helping to serve Indian consumer market, which means if more and more you move from not only a capsules or no these when we talk about in soft gels, which is a predominant market in omega-3 currently in India, however, bringing in different formats, innovative technology formats is something in India. It's working for last couple of years where consumers are making choice on the influence of in technology and innovation, and where they would like to take in a form of a habit. It's not just the temporary, but they want to take it consistently if the choice is given in an innovative technology. India is becoming a very early adopter markets when it comes to a science, coming to studies. It's not only a physician driven. Now consumer are also making a choice and early adopting the behavior which is brought from a Western country to an India. Biggest advantage for omega-3 in India when it comes to the regulatory ecosystem, it's one of the most complementing system. In fact, I being the chair of Standard Review Group of Food Safety Standards Act of India, representing government, industry, as well as the public interest, I feel the Indian regulatory system of like food safety is something which has given a very good, I would say, a wider window for omega-3 from different parts of the world to enter Indian market, which is a greater advantage to about it. When it comes to a weakness part of it, as I said, it's an evolving market, though it has taken a long way to reach to penetrate a deeper into the Indian vast, dense population of India. Still, lots of education is needed in order to create awareness of it, because that is something, if it is understood well, the reachability factor is going to make it more, I would say, better for every marketer. The cost effectiveness and the price sensitivity, yet something which we have to balance if the product is coming with the science, the quality, the purity, and it talks about the authenticity with certification about testing, like free from heavy metals, toxins, contaminants and all, is something which is driving the influence. Hence, even if it is the price high, but if you actually position your product with the USP, because being quality sensitive market, being adulterate, the market is also flooded with an adulterated a mixed group of omega-3 into the market, which is not known to consumer. So marketer, when making an awareness about this aspect of an omega-3, can make a larger impact for entry for the quality product into the market, and to bring the purest of omega-3 into the market from different parts of the world about it. And since one of the aspects which is very predominant in India, that it is driven by health professionals. So the omega-3 today, though it's selling on the word of mouth, but still the primary influence factor is the physicians, the dietitians and nutritionists are recommending, the fitness experts are recommending. So this is something which is a very factor that more and more science built or evidence built promotion, or it is backed by and human studies with its efficacy, will work much better in Indian market to create an awareness and still penetrate to and continue to penetrate in Indian dense population. When it comes to an opportunity perspective, if you see it is still an unexplored market. I would say we are just at the tip of the iceberg. We have not entered in Indian dense population. The awareness has increased. People are known. The choices are complex, and this complexity can be only broken. This chain of perplexed thought process about omega-3 can be only broken when the companies take a leadership to create an education awareness engagement amongst the consumer about an right and not right so omega in Indian market. The new vegan sources being explored, yes, definitely it is taking a share in Indian market. India is and dominant about usage about vegan. However, I would still emphasize anything which is backed by science, anything which is backed in human clinical studies in human, it's going to play a dominant, I would say, will occupy a dominant share in Indian market. A new dosage formats, the choices. What format you are offering? I mean, is it only in the form of a capsules? Can it be made in shots? Can it be made in water? Can it be made in a form of an food article which can be consumed in a day-to-day life? Can it be served in flour? This is something we have to really keep in mind when you design an omega-3 technologically, how better it can occupy in the space of human. I would say in Indian consumer minds is the most important thing. As you see, the Indian palette size is wider. I mean, if you can't serve a limited size of a population with choice of just in capsule. So, and developers of omega-3 have to focus and convenient form in omega-3 to adapt with the technology and to serve the Indian dense population in the form which they would like to take it. Though the popularity still remains with soft gel, however, the accessibility of omega-3 in the form of juices or and water and the other type of delivery formats, like in recent past, people have started adopting omega-3 as an substance in the form of a peanut butter. So that is something which is a popularity. So the more you adapt to the choices of consumer with what form they want to take or consume, it will be a faster growth to penetrate in Indian consumers' mind. And also to highlight that India, as I said, predominantly driven by physician, is still remain in India is the hub for lifestyle disease, is one of the area is still having a wider potential, wider perspective to penetrate into the market through a physician's reference, and that is something which is going to be important. And digital evolution era has opened up the market. Consumers have a direct interface. Consumers have a direct, a purchase from an Amazon or an marketplace platform or the company's website. It becomes very easier to pass on an information from the closed room of physician to an open room of scientific and evidence-based science, omega-3, which is a very important. However, to mention that any marketeers designing is the strategy, the content should be focused in a very crisp format. It should be in the secondary format, which is to be communicated by a marketer, so the consumer absorbs the right communication with the USP of the product to pick up the product and use in its daily lifestyle. Now, coming to a threat in this market is about it. As I said, the Indian market is more spread with variety of omega-3. When I say variety, it's in the form of fish oil, krill oil, green lip missile oil, or it's an algal oil, or we talk about an flaxseed oil. However, in this market, the biggest myth and the misleading is about the factual information. And when I say factual information, is to more to do with the clinical studies in the human, and which specific omega has been studied widely is becoming a very important, I would say, challenge for the marketeer to represent to consumer in India is going to be a very, very important aspect of it. Beside the misleading or the myths about omega-3, which has not been presented in a form because of which is not presented in a form, or otherwise it is something which is wrongly represented. Hence, education is going to very important by an awareness about the omega-3 by the marketers is going to be very important by marketers to play. And beside this, the most important factor I would say, which is influencing or creating little confusion in consumers' mind, is the quality and the testing. I think this is something which is not well understood by consumers. So more and more marketers, the more and more originators pump in an information to a marketer about its quality. It's about technology. It's about processes. Today, the back in the kitchen is more well perceived by Indian consumers to make a choice. How is this product manufactured, where it is manufactured, and how does the kitchen look like, and from where does the ingredient come? So the label should bear the ingredient name and the source of ingredient from which country it comes in. It plays a very large role and a greater role to influence the consumer to decide between multiple omega-3 in the market, or within a fish oil or within a krill oil, which is the best source, which is the original source. That is something which is helping consumers to take a decision. Hence, marketer will have to continue educate about the source, the ingredient, its purity, its quality, its testing compliance, and its certification to sit into the consumer minds constantly and stick to the brand on a long-term profit. This is something which was very important to highlight for Indian market. So if you see in today, what is that important which is lacking in omega-3 market is the necessity, is the need, is the urgency, it's the mandate, which is the most important factor, which is not been clear in the widest of population in the global market. But in India, it's purely lacking about the awareness. And omega-3 index very partially been communicated by an ingredient manufacturer or the ingredient developer, but it's not been passed on by marketer to a population of India. This is something of concerns. A lack of setup of testing omega-3. is causing a concern for Indian market, and hence this particular concept is not penetrating. But if you see, by and large, omega-3 index can be communicated very well if there is a proper education, awareness, and engagement and network with all the stakeholders. If we involve the government of India, industry, and an academic together and give a rising awareness about omega-3, will create a huge impact to rapidly shift this market and grow 10 times where it is today. Today, if you see that Indian market, as I said, it's lifestyle disease, full of lifestyle diseases. And the omega-3 index, 90% of the population, it's been done by one of the institutions in Maharashtra, in Pune, one of the researchers who has done for almost more than about 1,200 to 1,500 sample size. And he found that 90% of an sample is showing is a risk which is less than 4%, which is a very higher risk in the setup of an Indian population. And being driven by lifestyle disease, it's going to be very, very dangerous. Hence, omega-3 index awareness initiatives in a collaborative manner by an industry association or a council, like I drive a council called Expert Nutraceutical Advocacy Council. It's one of the finest council which is focused on nutraceutical, and it's focusing on health, wellness, and fitness. We work along with various stakeholders, along with the government, along with the public, along with the academics and the industry, and we can really create a huge noise about omega-3. There should be an TVC ad about omega-3 index to go check. There should be a technology for the rapid testing of omega-3. However, the awareness of omega-3 index is a must in the coming times to rapidly penetrate to the dense population of India and to grow 10x. The idea is in the public interest. The more you present your thoughts, your purpose in the public interest, your penetration would become simpler, your business will become better, your growth of omega-3 is going to be better. That's what I would like to highlight from that. The concern of omega-3 has to be highlighted through an awareness. Now, if you see that where in India is sitting out, and making it very simple, I don't want to make it a very complicated slide by bringing a reference point of it. It's well understood. In heart health, it is an EPA driven. It's an EP dominated market. EPA through fish oil. Eye health, again, it is a DHA dominated through fish oil. Slowly an evolving concept of algal DHA or a plant-based omega-3 is evolving in this area. Now, fetal development, it's dominated by purely DHA through and fish oil. Brain, again, I would say it's a predominantly through and fish oil DHA. However, there's an algal DHA, plant-based DHA, which is sitting in the minds of consumer to make a choice as an alternative choice and to go for a vegan route or a vegetarian route for the population who actually expecting omega-3 source through and I would say a natural and a plant-based about it. In anti-inflammatory, when it is very predominantly in case of arthritis, joint health, it is dominated by an EPA driven through fish oil. And when it comes to I would say it is still a lot to do a work into an area of liver health. However, it's still an EPA driven and it is perceived well. This is a very simple representation of it, how India understands, India physicians understand, or India consumer understand, and how they make choice. The choice is predominantly, it's led by fish oil. However, there's a scope where vegan plant-based omega-3 is increasing its awareness in consumer mind, so it can be served to the wider population and it can reach and penetrate to the dense population of India in the nook and corners of the India. Where you say, no, as I said, it's in pregnant women or in the women's health, DHA is essentially throughout the pregnancy. Studies which represents its efficacy, it's well perceived. It's been used for now more than about 1.5 decades. However, as I said, it's not prolifically prescribed so far, but definitely the potential area where physicians have perceived, but in general consumers, in OTC, still it is not perceived as usage in the pregnant woman. When it comes to a child's development, child development is a DHA dominated market. Athletes, if you see, it's EPA dominated market. It's more helpful in hypertrophy and shortening the recovery periods. When it says it's now in general omega for life for brain function, memory, and the motor function, it is dominated by an DHA. Now, if you see, actually, the important area where we know the people are becoming health savvies with unlimited access to information online, they have high awareness of their own needs about it. Company needs to be clear and concise about its benefits and evidence-based healthcare about their omega-3 products is something which is going to be a spotlight for a marketer to catch on with Indian consumers, presenting the facts and figures about and being very precise with the USP of the product. If you see the brand with a lot of trust and recognized ingredient quality, I think Zing has already mentioned what's a trend in China. But to summarize it, that providing a clean, safe, qualified, certified, and effective and trustworthy ingredient which is backed by clinical studies are very essential in Indian consumer market. When you say personalization, yes, I did touch upon omega-3. Spread the word. It is extremely important to convince consumer to understand their indices and know whether they should consider supplementation. I run a program in India through an ENAC. It's called Education, Awareness, Engagement and Network, which is EAEN, can play a crucial role in this space and can be passionately driven by board of experts of ENAC to create an awareness about an omega-3 index in its necessity, its essentiality in Indian consumer is the prime importance to proliferate, to grow the market rapidly. The trend in social media and online marketing, I've already highlighted. It's one of the disruptive. People can access information anywhere, anytime, and any part of the world. The accessibility of right information about the quality, about the testing, about the compliance. I would say India has now taken a very rapid and a very, I would say, a quicker steps ahead in revolutionizing its communication pattern along with what other part of the world is doing. India is also, it's now becoming a very, very important, I would say, a country where people are completely digitized and companies can take an advantage of their quality, their purity, their compliances, their testing, and communicate with the more reputable image, more talking about the clean, and can be endorsed by the celebrities or the brand endorsers or the experts and bring the right spotlight to an omega-3 markets and its concern in the Indian population. Vegan is the new sexy. I've already covered off it. The market is getting influence. However, it's still to pick up. It's still to take a shift, which will take some time. Like an fish oil established in the market, vegan is going to take time, but the wave is already seen. The market is moving. However, as I said, the certain advantage we can take about an existing platform and we can overcome this thing about it. So I would say, again, sustainable opportunities with plant-based for the people who are focusing on the plant-based omega. The trend, what we see, yes, there is a little shift. However, the predominance or the dominated is still the market is dominated by the fish oil. The new age is something which I would like to represent this about is something where India is looking out an omega-3 sources of natural, be it flaxseed oil or the spirulina or the Brussels sprouts, hemp seeds, algae, chia, seaweed, walnut. These are the sources people have started researching in different parts of the world, and India is getting influence about it. So more preparedness, more proactiveness to adapt the consumer behaviors will help this market to grow in a very sensible direction, and it should be an evidence base. Though these are still to create an evidence, but fish oil is having a lot of evidence, and omega-3 per se is having a lot of evidence of more than 36,000 studies has been published, and more than 4,000 studies have been done in human, and which has been registered on the GOED. The platform is very influencing factor that it's still a dominant space, to catch up with the consumer in India. The innovative way to overcome the barriers, yes, present with sensory, a great flavors, fragrance, and texture of omega can continue to grow the market of a non-vegetarian, or to do it in the form of a single shot or a peanut butter or infuse in the egg. It's like a chicken, who are fed with the plant-based seeds, hemp seeds, and all which produce omega. And in the form of infused milks, gummies market is proliferated, is one of the fastest growing, one of the most accepted amongst the children and the women for the omega-3 in India, and the chocolates. This is something which very no added sugar, an attraction to an Indian consumer. Omega serviced in the form of chocolate can be the biggest accessibility to a consumer market, especially in the women's and the children's health. So thank you. This was all about from the perception or the perspective on what actually happening and where the trend is going. I predominantly represent industry on various forums, and my expertise holds since 1996, working on different patterns of omega, its sources, its grades, in dosage forms. This is what I thought I could do justice to this forum and bring some insights about Indian consumers. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, thank you all. And so we still have 2 more speakers that are coming out together to present in our last part of this session. We are going a little bit longer because we started a little later, so I promise you, though, there are cocktails at 6 p.m., so you will earn those, I promise. All right, so we have 2 speakers now to present live here from the stage. Dan Harari of retail insights firm Clearcut Analytics and Caroline Davidson of Spins, which recently acquired Clearcut, will look at the, quote, new normal post-pandemic and provide intelligence on which consumer trend changes are here to stay. They'll also compare the e-commerce world to the US natural channel and mass market channels, providing learnings to help drive future business decisions. So please help me welcome Caroline and Dan.
All right, we've got our slides. Great. So today we're going to focus on, I know you've heard about some other international companies or some other international trends. Spins in the marketplace, we oversee US trends. So today we're just going to be looking at consumer sales data for the supplement, food and beverage, and pet industry. Myself and Dan, I'm our Director of Channel Partnerships. So at Spins, we work with brands, retailers, PE, VC firms, and then under my division, we work with global ingredient suppliers, brokers, distributors, associations, co-packers, et cetera. And then Dan here, our Head of Business Development within our Clearcut organization within Spins. So I'm going to give you a little bit of background so you understand how we collect our data and where it comes from. We've been in the industry for over 20 years, primarily starting working with natural retailers. About 20 years ago, we really looked at our retail partners and said, how can we help you make sure that your product assortment and what you're really putting into consumers' hands is going to be better for them? And a lot of that came down to how do we code products in a way that allows them to see what's really moving the needle and what's resonating with consumers. So we laid that foundation by saying, how can we help you with some product intelligence? So we have an entire product intelligence team that I'll shed some light on today of how we're coding for attributes, product type certifications, and the like across all of retail today. So we laid that foundation about 20 years ago, and that now has become a common language for the CPG industry. And we use that of analyzing across consumer, retail, and broad marketplace dynamics. When we look at how our data comes together, you can see we primarily work with over 80% of the natural retail market. And over the last several years, we've massively expanded that view and now have an exclusive data channel within regional independent grocery with a partnership with IRI. We have all of the conventional multi-outlet universe. And then through our recent acquisition with Clearcut Analytics a couple months ago, we brought e-commerce and Amazon sales data into our fold. A little bit of insight, I'm not going to go into a ton of this in detail, but just so you see the size of ACV in each of our data channels, natural channel being over $30 billion of ACV, regional independent grocery over $160 billion. In the conventional multi-outlet, that is over $65 billion in UPCs. That's just for natural products. That's trillions of dollars in ACV overall. And then Amazon is an endless shelf aisle. Something else to note here is that we cover data on over 120,000 retail brick and mortar locations. And then as we combine that with Amazon data, it's really, really powerful. So you can see here, this is a nice visual of all those ways that we bring that together. And then as we look at every brand and every category, every subcategory, and we combine all the items and how they're trending, kind of the piece of the puzzle here that makes a big difference is the way that we look at product intelligence. So I know that you guys are going to hear a lot about sustainability this week and how that's really big and important for your sector. Spins partners with certification companies like Certified Non-GMO, Certified Marine Stewardship. We look at label claims, product claims, functional ingredients. I'm going to show you some data on that today. But we have over a billion data points of over 3.5 million UPCs. And we also combine that with our Amazon sales data insights. And so you'll see a lot of our insights look like market research, but it's all rooted in sales data because this level of granularity that we collect. So we're going to dive into vitamins, minerals, and supplements first. And I'm going to hand it off to Dan to talk through some Amazon and point of sale.
Thank you. I love this slide here. This is showing us the amount of sales that Amazon makes up for the vitamin and minerals and supplement space for the channels that we track here at Spins and Clearcut. So it's about 28 to 30% of the sales are going through Amazon for what we track. But the growth is almost 50%. And this number has actually slowed down a little bit. It was about 63% a few months ago. But the majority of the growth, or almost the majority of the growth, is coming from Amazon today. So when we look at the vitamin and supplement and mineral space, we have to look at Amazon to see growth, new trends, new competitors in the market, and what are consumers demanding today online, which will eventually make its way over to the brick and mortar shelf. This here shows us a little bit of just the sheer size of some of these subcategories on Amazon. So omegas are a top 5 category on the platform. There are 4 total subcategories that are each selling more than $400 million in revenue a year on Amazon. There's 28 of them generating over $100 million in sales, and then there's 41 of them generating more than $50 million in sales. So like Caroline said, it's an infinite shelf size, infinite aisle of products, allows for many more categories and categories on this platform, and the sheer size of some of the sales of these products, brands, and categories is pretty tremendous.
So I'm going to jump back into the point of sale brick and mortar data insights. So we look across our 3 data channels. We look at natural retail, regional independent grocery, and conventional. We see there's a slight decline in natural, and part of that has just become, as you guys are probably pretty aware, there are supply chain issues and product assortment issues, distribution, and all of that leads into what the consumer can purchase. And so with that, on the other side, when we look at regional independent grocery and conventional big box retail, we've seen a huge differentiation on the types of products that they're bringing in, whether those are publicly claimed sustainability that they're trying to claim to, like a natural retailer, so saying we're now going to have X amount of UPCs or brands in certain categories that are sustainable or focused on better for you or clean label or have certain certifications. So we're seeing that in these results here with, even though the total channel of conventional is up 9.7%, we're seeing actually taking out just the natural products and the specialty products within those total sales, they're actually over-indexing. So part of that is new items coming into the fold that conventional consumers can purchase, but part of that is also the retailer really demanding it and figuring out there's a lot more out there that we can be bringing into our product assortment. So when we look at the categories overall, you can see the difference here in growth. So when we look at vitamins, minerals, and supplements at total, it's up 8%. And the natural channel and across MULO, we're seeing our performance nutrition in double-digit growth. Performance nutrition, some of the subcategories in that sector like creatine, pre-workout, hydration, so a lot of things, even weight loss supplements. So a lot of these health-focused type products. And then on the MULO side as well, something else to point out, superfood and whole food supplements, as well as condition-specific formulas. Consumers are really looking for a health focus on a label and maybe not diving specifically into those ingredients. Now, when we take this one step further and we're going to look at subcategories within those categories, these are all ranked on dollar sales. And so within the natural channel, we see a little bit of a decline in immune supplements and CBD. But then on the conventional side, very similar that we saw in the performance nutrition, we're seeing double-digit growth over the VMS growth of 8% in protein meal replacements and liquids and powders, as well as sleep supplements and children's supplements. Now, what does this mean for your sector of the industry in particular? So we look at EFAs. Overall, they're down 3% year over year. To be honest, that's pretty good, and compared to some of the ranking or some of the basket overhaul that we saw due to COVID and just tons of massive purchase behavior, our year over year looks a little bit funky sometimes in sales because people are making much larger purchases and going to stores much less frequently. But overall, when we look at EFAs and we say there's 3% decline, you can see there's an increase there in plant-based EFAs on the conventional side. So seeing a lot more interest in plant-based products, vegan-based products. Something else that's interesting, when you look at the conventional natural and conventional functional under the conventional channel, those are primarily driven by private label. So I'm sure a lot of you maybe work with some large retailers in the private label sector. That conventional natural increase is primarily driven by organic labeled private label products at retailers like Kroger and Target, Albertsons, Sam's, Costco, et cetera. When we look at attribute trends, this is just across all of VMS, and I will get to omega-specific attributes in just a second if you're eager. But we look at functional ingredients on the left-hand side. We're seeing double-digit growth across collagen, melatonin, magnesium, even cider vinegar supplements. We look at health focuses of supplements, cognitive health, mood support, I guess everybody is still drinking during COVID because we've got a lot of hangover remedies. And then we look at forms. I know sometimes I get a hard eye roll on gummies, but they are still up double digits. Consumers love them. They're very easy. It's like the adult version of the Flintstone vitamin. Seeing a lot of vegetable capsules, but interesting declines in effervescent tablets and tinctures. So drilling down into these into omega specific, we look based on dollar percentage growth and dollar sales. We look fish oil concentrate is +0, eye health up 4%, but algae and spirulina blue-green algae up double digits. And we'll see that a couple times throughout this presentation that plant-based sector of products is growing significantly. So when we take all these vitamins and supplement products and we narrow them down into health focuses, which you can see those in the middle, mood support, cognitive health, and how those are performing, when we look at just the product types that are trending for items in those health focuses, that's where we see in the third column there, the forms and how they're performing. So interestingly enough, we see a much higher growth trajectory for gummies at 88%, tinctures on this side are up 114%, vegetable capsules up 23%. All right, Dan, I'm gonna get over to you for Amazon.
Yeah, now for the Amazon piece, and we'll get you guys out of here. I know everybody wants to go to the happy hour, so we'll get through this. So we've seen a slowdown in the growth rate of VMS in general on Amazon, but this is over a much higher baseline. So the absolute numbers of growth in dollars are actually as high as they've been for years. These growth numbers were closer to 40, 50, 60%, for some categories over 100% year over year. A lot of this was due, obviously because of COVID, we see the giant spike right around March and April of 2020. I always like to compare omegas and omega-3s to the two other large subcategories within Amazon to see how are omegas comparing to those other categories around them. Omega-3s are about 96% of all of omegas on Amazon. We'll get to that on the next slide. But we have seen a slowing down in the growth rate, again, in percentages for omegas. Same thing with probiotics and collagen. Probiotics are the largest subcategory in VMS on Amazon, but all three of these are in the top 5. So omega-3s, as mentioned, if you look at all of omegas, omega-3s are about 96% of the total market share of omegas on Amazon. About 82% of that is just omega-3 being advertised on the front label of the product, and about 14% of that is a combination of omega-3 with other omegas mixed in on the front label of the product. What's on the back label is a different conversation, but we're talking about what is being advertised on the front label. So when we break omegas down by source, no surprise, fish is the number 1 in the category, about a 60% market share and a very healthy growth rate of about 20%. Krill is number 2 with about 9% and a 16% growth rate. And we're seeing some of the more plant-based products also continue to grow with algae at the bottom there, but the fastest growing with 39%. A little bit of a surprise here with black seed. Black seed was the fastest growing. We're not sure if this is due to out of stocks or not enough competitors, but this was a big opportunity not too long ago. And this is the only one in the red going in the opposite direction. But overall, we're seeing more of a trend towards plant-based products, not only in omegas, but also across different categories in this industry. Top delivery methods. Caroline made a mention of gummies a second ago. So we're seeing that gummies is the fastest growing delivery form pretty much in every subcategory where it's a viable delivery form. This number of 31% could be quite a bit higher if there was enough supply for gummies just across the business. It's getting a gummy manufacturer, as a lot of you already know, to make your products is very difficult. So that 31% number is probably underrepresenting the consumer demand for this product. Now, whether you believe gummies are a good delivery method or not is a different conversation, but we do know that consumers are definitely demanding gummies. Soft gels is the clear leader, continues to grow at a healthy rate, and also have the majority of the market share by a huge amount. We are seeing that liquids is slowing down significantly with only 1% of the total market, a 1% growth rate and 11% of the market share. At Clear Cut and Spins, we actually partner with a lot of the companies that we see here. We work with them on either services or helping them understand what's happening in their categories. We see that there are over 500 different brands selling Omega products on Amazon. That's due to that infinite shelf size we spoke about. There's not a limit of real estate of how many products fit on a shelf. On Amazon, you have tens of thousands of products, and there's no limit to how many more you can be adding. Nordic Naturals is by far the number one with 24%. They continue to improve and do better. So I would not be surprised that even though they're number one, that number continues to increase in their favor. We're seeing that the top 10 brands in the space have over 50% of the market share. And the rest of these brands are all hovering around the same numbers, but all have also nice growth rates. One thing that I did want to note here as well is that this is made up of mostly legacy brands, but there's a couple of Amazon-only brands here. Amazon-only or Amazon First are brands that essentially have focused on growing on Amazon first, starting in that marketplace and then transitioning over to traditional brick and mortar. And those are brands that are spending heavily on this platform, stealing market share from more traditional brands that we have seen around for many years or many decades that we're finding in the natural channel or in the conventional channel. And I also wanted to touch on some of the top products. So no surprise, Nordic Naturals has 3 of the top 5 products, including number 1. All of the top 5 products are soft gels and they're fish, which again is not a surprise based on the domination of the fish oil source within the Omegas category. Price points don't really differ all that much. The only one is that Nordic Naturals product at $68. But we're seeing that the brands that are really focusing on Amazon and making Amazon a core of their strategy are really succeeding. So Dr. Tobias is a brand that is majority Amazon. Same with the Razzle number 4, majority Amazon Sports Research in the prior page as well. Back over to you.
So I know we like to talk a lot about supplements when we talk about Omegas, but they are still consistently creeping into food and beverage and pet. So just at a high level, I'm going to talk to you about attributes that we're seeing for Omega specific to food and beverage. So this is kind of a baseline of saying across all grocery, frozen, refrigerated across the US. So that's within regional independent grocery, all of conventional and natural retail. These are the overall data trends that we're seeing with growth in 1.2% in conventional. But again, very similar to what we saw within VMS. There is an overgrowth trajectory for just when we segment out only natural products and only specialty and wellness. With almost triple the amount of growth in total sales. So when we look at these functional ingredient attributes, at the top there I've got grocery at plus 2% growth versus a year ago in the last 52 weeks. When we pull out certain types of products, and these are functional ingredients that SPINS codes for, so keep in mind this is just brick and mortar sales, so this is agnostic of Amazon sales data. We see DHA products down 1%, chia seed and oils down 4%, but other things like spirulina, blue-green algae up 21%, CBD up 26%. And part of that is obviously the delivery method and the availability of these products. So I've got some examples here, but a lot of it also similar to what Dan said about what's being promoted to the consumer on the label. We're seeing more and more products that are plant-based or plant-based for that are promoting either omega-3 benefits or DHA or some of these buzzwords that consumers may not understand the full breadth of the ingredient, but the marketing is really helping them make a decision in those certain types of products that you see here. And then pet, kind of rounding out with some of these really interesting trends in pet VMS. Pet vitamins and supplements is a subcategory in our SPINS hierarchy, and it is one of the fastest growing in the pet sector. So across our regional independent grocery and conventional, it's actually a double-digit percentage versus year ago. When we look at it here, just as a whole across every data channel, it's up 9%. And when we look at specifically in functional ingredients relative to your sector, salmon oil, fish oil concentrates, spirulina, again, that blue-green algae, a massive, massive increase. Part of that may just be a net new items and a lot of those coming into the marketplace, but also a differentiation and better for you type of pet products coming into conventional grocery. And then we're also seeing a really big shift in consumers, the way that they view kind of their vitamins and supplements routine actually also being portrayed within their pets. So you can see some examples here that how consumers in the US are choosing their health focuses that we saw in vitamins and supplements. We're seeing a lot of pet products in a similar way being marketed for a health focus for a pet. And then what's next for Omegas? Kind of what's trending, what are some of the new items? Pulled some reports on the newest items coming in to the natural and the conventional data space for point of sale, brick and mortar retail in the last 24 weeks. And these are some of the new items that we're seeing. This is very, very high level, right? got 3.5 million UPCs. There's a lot of new items out there, but these are some that I thought were worth pointing out. We look at product forms, so a lot of stuff that's topical within personal beauty and body care. We're seeing gels, so similar to how we saw energy gels, we're seeing that within omegas mixed with other flavors. Within grocery, we have known that eggs are a source of omegas, but they're actually being marketed as extra omegas, and that's really resonating with consumers from a sales perspective. And then a brand like Bulletproof, right? They started in beverages and primarily just in grocery, and we're now seeing them going into the VMS space with something like an omega complex, and we're seeing that on the other side too. So some brands that started in VMS are now pivoting with those products into grocery. And then lastly, I know Dana and I both talked a bit about algae and plant-based, and that's been predominant, and I'm sure it will be throughout the week at this conference, but so many examples across conventional retail, across private label, and many of these trending brands where we're seeing algae really being marketed and being picked up by consumers. Part of that may not just be that it's plant-based or that they choose a plant-based lifestyle, but it may also be relative to sustainability and their advocacy for climate change and some other marketing behind certifications of why they choose that. So there's a lot of other ways that we can dive into a lot of specific data, and we'd love to talk to you guys more in detail either after this or as a follow-up. And so our information is here. Please reach out via LinkedIn, email, or if you have any questions, we'd be happy to answer those as well. Thanks.
Thank you guys both. That was just an amazing amount of information that we got in just a little bit of time. So now we do have a few minutes for some Q&A, and I think we're welcoming back Sandeep and Jing for our Q&A portion of today. Can we open it up? Are there any questions here from the audience? I can't see if there's any.
Hi.
Anyone?
Hello.
All right. Well, I know when it comes, at least here in the U.S. market, I know you talked a little bit about pets. I'm just curious. I know for me, getting into the omega space, it started with my dog. Like, do you see that a lot with consumers, you know, starting with their pets and then translating it to human health, human behavior?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think we see very similar product attributes, and we see a lot of functional ingredients that start in grocery for a human consumption. Mm-hmm. And then, like, we've seen it with grain-free trends. We see it with, like, probiotic topicals, right? And we see, like, additives within even just your pet's water or treats. Like, we're seeing the same trends across human and pet nutrition. I think the research has been really, really good about backing that up. And so I think when we're looking at that pet vitamins and supplement sector, a lot of those functional ingredients just continue to grow, and we continue to see a lot of different mixes. But part of that is also relying on the pet companies. They're promoting a lot more of those health focuses for pets, and part of that comes with promoting omegas on the package.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah. All right. Oh, we have a question over here.
Hi. Yep. Hi. I had a question for the first presenter about the China market. You know, I think the India market and the U.S. market, we talk about plant-based sources and sustainability. Were there any, I guess, insights from your research into China about how that's evolving there?
Yeah, I think definitely there's also a trend in China. But from consumer research, we found sometimes the consumer also consider about the ecosystem. But of course, let us to also come back for that questions maybe after the event. Or Christina, do you have any opinion for these questions?
Yes, actually, from my research, it's like most of the consumers of like algae oils are usually like pregnant women, or they buy for their kids because it's considered safer, and it's not like the majority of people who buy the plant-based oils now in Chinese market.
Any other questions from the audience? We have one over here.
In the US market, the natural channel plays a pretty important role in educating the consumer, especially given our regulatory environment. Do you guys have any advice for how brands manage the growth that you're seeing in Amazon and the declines maybe that we're seeing in the natural channel, just given the importance of that part of our industry and educating consumers here in the US?
I can take that.
Go for it.
Yeah, it's Amazon's becoming kind of a core focus of a lot of brands that kind of ignored it for years. About 5 or 6 or 7 years ago, a lot of brands decided to not focus on Amazon, and those were kind of left behind, right? So what we're seeing on Amazon today is that brands that are focusing on this platform are investing heavily on the advertising front, but they're also using Amazon to educate the consumer about their brand, about their products, about their sustainability. Amazon has now an icon for climate. I think it's called a climate pledge. It's a green little leaf that you'll see on any search that you do for any products, whether it's in omegas or any other category. And so using Amazon to your advantage to educate the consumer, whether it's on your brand storefront, whether it's on the product page, it gives you a lot more real estate to provide information than you would have in a brick and mortar store where you only really have your label to tell the consumer who you are and why your product is different than the one next to you on the shelf. So use Amazon to your advantage to provide information on what makes your product different, better, or more sustainable than the others.
And I can actually speak to the other side of that, on the brick and mortar side, because a lot of the retailers that we work with hundreds of thousands of retail locations, and at a high level, the decision making from a lot of natural retailers is they know they need to lean in more and understand where they're losing market share to potentially online sales for things like supplements or better for you products. And so a lot of them are actually directly, exclusively working with spins, and we enable them to look at product attributes like some of the functional ingredients that I shared with you and say, where are some of these items happening on Amazon, and how can we do a better job to make sure our product assortment mix and our price is competitive, so that when consumers are coming to do their shopping trip, it's comparable to what they may purchase online. And so a lot of it is us giving them the tools to make sure in-store product assortment is appropriate, and then also making sure their shelf tags or any other direct marketing that they're doing to their customer loyalty programs is actually being communicated correctly based on ingredients or maybe based on a certification claim. And so I know that from the retail side, I hear a lot of them really understanding and knowing they need to lean in, and I just think the pandemic has massively expedited their focus on that, and seeing what's happening on Amazon is a key kind of yin and yang approach of we can't carry everything in our store, but what's the best product assortment where we can fulfill some of that void.
We have another question over here.
Yeah, hello. Wondering if your data and research shows if consumers are willing to spend more for plant-based products.
Yep. So we look at over 220 data measures across every single brand and UPC that we code for. And some of those are average retail price. We look at base versus incremental promo pricing. So we do price elasticity studies, and we can dive into any single item that has an ingredient maybe that you want to take a look into. What are all those products and their price point, et cetera. So we can dive into that in a lot of detail. We have a consulting team and division that does that. In addition to that, we also have consumer panel data. So you can run reports against consumers and say, tied to their demographic, psychographic information, how often are they purchasing, what else are they purchasing in their basket, and we can tie all of that back to an actual ingredient in the product. So all that product intelligence and those product attributes that I shared, we can actually pull that against consumer panel data that's comprised of over 100,000 households in the US. And we can look at, to your point, like other price hold behaviors or other potential forecast.
And then we have a question right here.
Yeah, did the clear-cut data, does that include other engines like iHerb or Swanson or internet-based companies like that?
No, really good question. It does not. It's only Amazon US. But within Amazon US, Amazon makes up about 70 to 80%, depending on the category, of the total market share of all e-com sales for vitamins and supplements. So it isn't the whole thing, but it's a grand majority. And there are some other .coms that we have to the rest of the Spins ecosystem, not the ones that you mentioned though. A little bit smaller, but yeah.
Yeah, and I will say the consumer panel data set that we have that I just spoke to, that's the 100,000 households across the US, that's balanced across the census, that is agnostic of purchase outlet. So we can pull in purchases from all the retailers and the .coms that don't traditionally sell their data to any provider. So we have a lot of suppliers that will come to us and say, I want to look at the mix between all of e-com. So they'll pull in our Amazon data through Clearcut, and then they'll look at brick and mortar, and then they also want to look at Costco, and they want to look at Trader Joe's, and maybe they want to look at other, maybe like a Walmart.com or Target.com, and we can comprise all of those retailers together. So it's a different data set, but it is something that we drill down to for a lot of our ingredient supplier clients.
Well, that is the time that we have for today. I want to thank Sandeep and Jing for coming in from your parts of the world. Thank you so much for both of your presentations, and I want to thank Dan and Caroline here for presenting here live. Before we say goodbye for the day, I do want to make sure that you remember at 6 p.m., so in about 40 minutes, we will be having our cocktail reception that is sponsored by Taza. Thank you, Taza. And that will actually be in this foyer right here, since it's too windy outside to do it outdoors. So please join us back here at 6 p.m., and thank you to our speakers for today.
Thank you so much.